So our next speaker is a board member of SAC, but more importantly and more interestingly, he is the executive director and board member of Elekta. Tomas Puusepp has spoken a few times with us, but I think that today he will share the wisdom of how, if you will, a small or mid-sized Swedish firm becomes a global player, and particularly in the healthcare space, which is getting more and more attention today. And thank you. So, Tomas, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Anders. Yeah. Okay. Okay, it's great to be here, and thank you, SAC, for inviting me for this very interesting event, and I hope this will continue also years to come. I think it's absolutely very good for us to share our views and share our experience and actually build Swedish business much faster in the US than ever before. I will have a short agenda. One is overview of Elekta, and the second one is Elekta in the US, which is actually the primary topic for me today, and then talking about key success factors, how we actually succeeded in this market and how we become actually a global player, very much based on the experience we did here in the US. But may I ask you first, all of you here, the impossible task, if you could raise your hand if you know someone who have had cancer or have cancer. Could you please raise your hand? That's actually almost all of you. That is actually what Elekta is all about, is to make a huge difference for these patients throughout the world. So it affects all of us. It's not only the people who directly get the cancer, but it affects everybody in the society, more or less. And that is what we are here for. That's what we have built the whole corporation of. And that's what has been the mission, vision, and the values we have implemented in the organization. And I can guarantee you one thing, we are early stage companies that you probably think that values and that kind of thing is corporate bullshit. But when you end up in a situation which Lars and myself has been very close to bankruptcy, you know how important values are to actually glue the organization together when you really have tough times. So it's actually values is much more important than you might think. The other thing which is important, which we usually forget, when we acquire companies, and that has been also one of the success stories of Elekta, we always look into the values of the company we acquire. So we actually work together with them several years before we even think about acquiring. We can count, everybody can count, everybody will look into the potential synergies, and all of us know that it's usually wrong. But what actually happened is actually that we don't share the values. It started actually with Lars Leksell, who actually was very frustrated that 30% of the patients died due to surgery when they did surgical procedure in the brain. And he said, absolutely not acceptable. So then he started to think outside the box, which was extremely innovative, and we actually established, I will come a little bit later on, established a new method, a new methodology. It's not just a new product, a methodology which changed dramatically the way everybody looked into surgery in the market. He was smart enough to say that I don't know how to run a business. He was an excellent physician, so he asked Larry to start the company, Elekta, and Larry continued as a CEO from 1972 when the company started until 2005, and I took over after 2005 to this year, actually. So we have had two CEOs during the last 40 years. And now we have Niklas Avander, who's taking over from me. So it is actually quite important that we have taken the heritage through a number of years to really end up in a very successful company. And you can see the rewards come there. We always started to see what is the value we actually contribute to the patient and the healthcare system. So when we you can see how long time it takes from 1974 to 1994 before it really started to pay off. Because that is the time it takes to prove the value you contribute to the society and to the patient. So when we were able actually to do that, we actually had a tremendous growth in the corporation. And so the rewards come, an excellent company financial point of view, did come actually from that we provided the value in the end of the day to the patient and to the society. So we actually started with that, and that's translated then into quite a big business. We grow both through organic growth. It was our compound average growth during the last 8 years has been around 16%. And of course, that is a painful exercise, but it's a very fun exercise. Part of it, 4% of that, of the 16%, is coming from acquisition. And what did we do with acquisition? We actually added value into our customer base. So it was very innovative companies. We actually fueled also, called it a culture within the organization by introducing, for example, California style into the Elekta style. And that actually continues to move Elekta into a new kind of more modern culture than we had from originally. So, but I will not go through it. It's a number of acquisitions. All of them except one has been pretty successful. We also invest more in R&D than any other medtech company in the world, if you look in relative terms. So this is a direct investment, which exceeds somewhere around 12% this year. But we also add to that about 4%, which is coming from cancer funds through our customers and users. We don't develop anything without our customers directly involved into our research and development. And the interesting thing is also that we also select, because I heard someone say that customers don't know what they want, but we always select institutions who is really out-of-the-box thinker. So we don't use the traditional one. We use one who can challenge us, who can challenge the system, who can challenge the clinical solution. We also have had the philosophy, and here also from one of the speakers earlier, of course, we have to move directly to US because there was no market in Sweden. US represented 50% of our business, and we'll come back a little bit later on regarding that. So US was the first step. The second step was in Japan. And if you ask, we asked some consultants. Sometimes consulting is good, sometimes they are bad. Because the consultants say, you're doing the worst you can ever do. This is really complicated. Japan is impossible. But we always use that. Impossible is just only a little bit more difficult. And if you succeed, you will be alone. You know? So it's actually, we actually used the consultants and reversed it in the opposite direction and say, okay, if it's that difficult, we should do it because then we will actually protect that market for the future. And this has been true and still true. So what I'm mostly proud of in the corporation during all this year is actually that today about 1 million patients are treated with our clinical solutions. And we make a huge difference. We are today the leader in modern cancer care in the world. So all modern cancer therapy is actually invented by Elekta, if you look in radiation point of view, and not by anybody else. It's by Elekta, and we continue to do that. What is not mentioned here, which I think is an important component as well, about 140,000, we acquired Impact, which is actually a company from California. And today we actually include about 140,000 patients every day in our database. And I can give a little bit, why did we do it? What could be the effect of that in the long run? We have 4 business areas. I will not go through that in detail, but in principle, we are working with neuroscience and we are working with cancer. And cancer is the majority of our business. And I will take one example because it's a very good example. It's a little bit of school book example of business innovation and technical innovation. So I think actually business innovation is equally important as technology innovation, really to position yourself in the market like the US market or North American market. So we did a few activities in US just to kind of boost our profile because branding and the presence in different clinics are so important for us and also for the future future development of the corporation. So we did actually a few acquisitions for 2 reasons in US. One is to better understand the market. 2 is actually to get the installed base. So with this 2 equations, we were able to actually go from almost nothing. We were absolutely nothing if you're looking for 2005-ish in United States to become actually the second largest player in this market. We have had a pretty good growth, as you probably know, in this industry in the United States. The growth has been single digit during the last number of years. We have been growing twice as much as that. And we have about 1,000 employees now in U.S. We have about $500 million turnover in U.S. Our headquarters in Atlanta, but we also have all software development for the whole world is actually based in U.S. So it's actually in California and Sunnyvale. So we have about, I think it's 600 programmers in California. And that is also our global software support. So what is the characteristic of the U.S. medtech market? It's highly regulated. We talked about that earlier. Particularly in the field of medical devices and drugs, of course. So we have the FDA, the NRC, we have to deal with this. But I actually see that this is a problem. No, I think it's actually an opportunity. And the reason why I say that and to comply with that is because then you can actually ensure that you don't get a lot of stuff into the market which can actually hurt your business. So actually, FDA, I think, is actually a great organization, do a very good job, which is actually there to protect the patient in the end of the day that they don't get a lot of crap in. And that also support us as well. So we have very good relationship with FDA. We have always had it. We have never had any warning letters because we interact with them very frequently, and that positions us extremely strong into this marketplace, and we are always ahead of the curve regarding new regulatory things which we can actually apply to. Extremely competitive. And it's not only, I mentioned here, providers, but it's very, very competitive also regarding, because it become a consumer market. So the consumer, they are looking for new ways to treat cancer. So it become a hugely competitive environment, which actually makes it very good for us, because since we are investing so much in new innovation, they are always looking for something new, and they will adapt to the new technologies and new methods much quicker than you see, for example, in Europe. So it's also a test country, very much so, for all our products and so on. It's highly litigious. And remember one thing, when you enter into this market, we talk about this legal structure. Be sure that you have a good product liability insurance that can actually kill you. It can actually make it also difficult, even if you have the right. I can give you one example. We had the patent infringement. Also we, according to the other party, infringed one patent which was actually bullshit. But it costed us, in the end of the day, even if we won that, cost us $10 million to fight against that only. So it's only, so the system is quite much tougher than you, for example, see in Europe or in Sweden or in France or in Italy or wherever. So it is actually also, one need to be very careful, one need to be diligent, one need also to ensure that you have the right advisor at the right time and also in an early stage. So product liability is valid for all of us. Even if you have earphones, I can guarantee you, you will find someone who get their kind of spike in the ears and they will claim that actually the hearing problems they have is due to that one. So it is actually something one need to be extremely careful. It's increasingly evidence-based, and that is the reason why we acquired the largest oncology information system company, because the more data we will have, and we have the largest data bank in the world, the better we'll be off also to provide evidence of what we are doing and evidence also of what our customers are doing. It's very diverse. We talked to Lars, I mentioned that also. I have absolutely the same experience. We think that US is one country when it's actually 50 countries. Each and every state is relatively unique. They even speak some different languages. If you're coming from Alabama and you go up to New England, I don't think that they understand each other even. So, and it's completely different way to do things. So one needs to be very careful, one needs to focus, one needs to start with one state and expand further. And that's what we also did. We actually started with Pennsylvania. Appreciation for innovation, they love innovation. So as long as you have some really great, unique stuff, you can absolutely guarantee that they will look into these opportunities. When in Sweden say, but it's new, it doesn't work, blah, blah, blah. So you have a completely different way. New innovation is very good. Innovation is highly appreciated, and it's definitely make a big difference for a company like us or your company. Customer service and support is completely different to any other countries in the world. Extremely demanding. You have to be there 24/7, is no question about it. If you don't have good customer support, it doesn't matter what kind of product you have. You will fail anyway. So it is, and that is also, don't expand too quickly. Make sure that the first customer is extremely happy, extremely satisfied, because otherwise you will fail in the end of the day. Select the right partner. I usually say that it's like to get your wife or your husband. You know? Don't go out in a bar and have a drink and think that that's the right person for the rest of your life. It might be so, but that might be by accident. Same thing with this. We refused actually to enter into certain hospitals in the United States in early stage because we know that they will not help us in our marketing activity in the countries because they just want another product. They wanted exclusivity. They wanted all that kind of things would hinder ourselves actually to expand. So we selected the hospital which have provided the best clinical papers at that time. We selected the best brain in neurosurgery. It was this guy, Dave Lunsford. He was a young, shining star, extremely brilliant, and he was dedicated for our stuff, and he will live and die with it. You know? And you can see also what the effect of that. And this shows you a little bit about the number of publications. That's one thing, and you see that is number of articles. But the size of the bubble is even more important. Is how many other papers has been referred to these guys. And there you can see, everybody else has dwarf compared to these guys. And this really made a huge difference for us because we introduced a methodology which is very rarely done in any market in the world. So we have to have this. And if we didn't have this, we will never come through as a volume business in the United States of America. So this was one extremely important success factor for us. The other one is training and education. We train and educate about 3,000 people every year in the United States of America. About 6,000 on a worldwide basis. 2015-16, it will be 12,000. So training and education is absolutely also a crucial point because if you don't do that, you have a product liability on your neck. Like tomorrow. Because if they don't know exactly what to do, you can be guaranteed, you can be sure that they might actually do things wrong. So for us, it's actually to protect ourselves, but it's also to spread the gospel and also the possibility for us to sell more. Because when you train and educate them, you always expand what they can actually do within their clinic. So that actually creates also a lot of more business. This is the list, I will not go through. This is the list of the top neurosurgery centers in the United States of America. And also, it's actually, I think it's some, no, this is just in US. And they are absolutely the key centers, and they are also represented throughout the whole world. So actually, these centers helped us to expand in other markets as well. So it's actually the vast majority of the neurosurgery centers in the United States do have our clinical solutions today. We have all the centers participate in our R&D programs. They pay to participate in our R&D. And I will not tell you which hospital. It was one of the CEO of the largest cancer clinic in the world, Tomas, and this guy, Tomas, this is the first time we have ever paid to participate in an R&D program with a company. They usually do the opposite. So when you actually to position yourself as the innovator, as really the people who think differently, you will find a number of these centers who will jump on that track and actually contribute significantly, both in kind but also in money, and also will be the best marketing tool for you in the market because they are part of the R&D program. They will present a number of publications. They will love actually the activity, and they will see that as much as baby as we do. We also created, which is interesting, because since you introduce a methodology, a new methodology, you also have to consolidate all the experience. So we created a very exclusive club called the Gamma Knife Society, and we have a special consortia in the United States, where, of course, we did bring first all the famous neurosurgeons into that. But since everybody else would like to be part of this famous team, that also attracted others to sign up for our new methodologies in other centers, because they would like to also, or they wanted to be part of the exclusive club. So the key success factors in the United States: compliance. If you are not compliant with NRC and FDA, you will be gone. Payer strategy. What we actually did, we created our own CPT code, which sounds, it's a reimbursement for Medicare and Medicaid, it's called the CMS. And that was one of the only companies who have actually been able to do that, because that was also impossible. Our consultants say, no, piggyback on an existing CPT code. But we say, no, that sounds wrong. We have to create our own CPT code. So what happens when you do that? You actually protect your pricing for a very long period of time, and also your profitability, because otherwise you will get automatic dilution in your margins, because you will get other competitors try to hunt you down there. So it's actually, this created actually a good fundament, and we are one of the only one who actually been able to get a dedicated CPT code for our technology. Legislator, we have done a mistake, and that was actually, we entered into that a little bit too late, or not too late, but late. So now we are creating a company in Washington, D.C., and these people have only one objective: run around like crazy with the senators. Be in the corridor every single day, interact and talk with the people, and trying to have some influence through the senators there, because they have an impact on Medicare and Medicaid. Power of the patient here is everything. It's not like in Sweden, it's getting there, but it's very slowly. But actually, this is a consumer market, and the consumer is the patient. So you have to have very good collaboration with the patient organization, because they will actually help you to become successful, because they would like to see more of these methodologies and technology in the market to help their patients. PR, we had the discussions about that as well. It's very important. Was someone talking about, who was that? It was about the earphones, and I think it was some famous lady. We had another one. It's Scott Hamilton. So Scott Hamilton got a brain tumor, and this is important also in the United States. If you have a famous person gone through treatment modality, you will also get a momentum which is significantly more here in the United States than you, for example, see in Europe. Brand preference is important, and that's why this publication is so important. Because through the publication, peer-reviewed articles in leading journals, you will also get a very good brand name, because they will always refer back to your company. We have also customer satisfaction. This is what they call best in class, but it's not class, it's KLS. And this is an independent organization in the United States, which is high visibility in the healthcare sector. So we always we have to be number one in these areas, because otherwise the customer will look for the number one in customer support. As I mentioned earlier, customer support is a very crucial point. So we have been able now, through hard work and a lot of investment, to be ranked number one in all areas. And that, of course, helps us as well to continue to grow and continue to make money. Happy customer is a profitable customer. It's actually true. It's not the opposite, that you give away things so you have a happy customer. Happy customer, you get the best support, and you can guarantee. We have looked into it statistically in our customer base with 6,000. The most profitable customer is the happiest customer. So, what is the future then? I have only a couple of minutes left. What happened now in US is a consolidation, which is actually good. Change is good. Change is not the threat. As long as you're ahead of the curve, you're always the winner. And if you do something, you adapt to it as well. So consolidation is going on right now in the United States. There's a lot of smaller hospitals. They consolidate the larger hospital. So actually what has happened, what we have adapted to now, is that we become a partner in cancer care. So we make sure that these larger hospital chains are much more efficient. So we actually have a consultants group within an organization who help our customers out to become more efficient and also to produce better results in the end of the day through statistics. If we be value-based reimbursement, what is value-based reimbursement? Outcome divided by cost. And of course, we have the largest database in the world right now. We expect that this will happen a long time ago, and that's where also acquired impact. Today, we have the largest private data bank within cancer care. And even the drug company buys data from us. Market growth is, of course, something which is bad, but I give you some positive sign of that. It's an aging population, and actually cancer is more or less direct relative to age. The improved treatment, which we have contributed quite a lot of, make also the life length of the patients much longer. So it becomes much more a chronic disease. And what happened then is, of course, the need for our clinical solution will increase also, indeed. What we are doing right now, we talk about that we are also in technology the biggest inventor. This is a revolution in the future. We are the first one in the world who is introducing right now a clinical prototype in Utrecht where you can actually in real time see exactly the tumor you're treating. This is the first time ever happened. This is the largest. We talk about several $100 million in investment to get this done. But we are actually there right now to introduce the first clinical prototype in Utrecht where you can actually, I don't know if you can, unfortunately it's not moving, but you can actually see now exactly what you would like to treat. This is the biggest innovation in this field for, I don't know, the last 20 years. So we are here to stay. I think we have both technology innovation, but also business innovation, which I think is an important component as well. Let's not forget that. Business innovation has been equally important for us as the technology innovation. So thank you very much for your attention, and thank you so much for inviting me here.
Thomas, thank you. Thank you. Do we have time for a couple of questions for Thomas, if we have some, which would be great. Yeah, please, over here.
I have a question about your growth. I've seen in the graph you've had a very steady growth. However, if you enter the market, you want to have the right balance. You don't want to be too fast or you don't want to be too slow. How do you moderate the balance?
The good thing, it's good and bad thing that if you look at medtech industry, it's taking a long time for clearance and approvals and stuff like that. So you actually have time to build it up. The most important thing for us before we actually expanded is that we really started to get the clinical evidence out there. So we didn't want to expand even if we have people and customers and hospitals who wanted to pay money to get it to be unique. But we know that if we get it there too early, we will fail anyway. So it's really to have a very good plan for each and every hospital you would like to have and start to prepare them, but be sure that you have the support organization before you really do it. Because if you don't do that, I can almost guarantee you will fail. So it is important. Support organization is absolutely crucial point to succeed in this market.
Anyone else? Thomas, I have one question. Do you perceive that the American audience perceives Elekta as a foreign company now, or do you think that you are just generic, or do you think that you're American? What do you think that people perceive you as today?
We're more famous in the US than anywhere else in the world. So I think that to be listed here in the US, that has not been an issue for us because we have several US shareholders in the company. I think in the past it was probably better. Today I don't think any need for us to get listed here. We have a very good, our brand name in the US is very, very strong.
I had another question, sorry.
Sure. We have a follow-up here, and then we'll go to Hank, and then we'll close it up.
Why is your head office in Atlanta? And also
it's very, very, there was a clear plan. No, it was by accident. So it was actually the first guy we hired in US was actually a guy who lived in Atlanta. But in the end of the day, it was actually quite good because it's a good airport, cost of living is low, you have an international flight, but I would say that was more by accident than the other one. No, it was actually the guy who was living there. Yeah.
Thank you. Hank?
I don't know if I can use this thing now. One of your big risks, obviously, is that a new product is going to eclipse your leadership. Do you feel that you have sufficient understanding and reach of the research that's being done elsewhere to maintain that?
Yeah. I think it's good. It was probably the Swedish heritage that we're holding back a little bit, you know. But I agree on your point. We should probably be a little bit more aggressive than we are regarding our position in the marketplace. I would say particularly the new stuff which is coming out now, because that is a revolution actually in cancer care, and we know it works. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's absolutely a revolution in cancer care. But that will take a couple of, you know, we have been a little bit hesitant to go out and say something which takes a couple of more years before it will be clinical, you know. But it is a tremendous step forward in cancer care.
We have one final question. Okay.
What's your take on the new kinds of cancer therapies that are being developed, like regulatory therapies that are being developed?
No, I think it's actually helped. I mean, we also depend on that. The more adaptive therapy you can do, the better for us. So when you really start to look into take a blood sample and see, for example, the radiosensitivity of the patient, it's very, very important. So we hope that a lot of things will come out. Do we believe that radiotherapy will have a less overall? Absolutely not. The opposite. Yeah. Exactly what we see now, it's growing much faster than most of the areas right now as we speak, including also the emerging market.
Thomas, thank you. And,
thank